All right, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Millennial Talk 2.0 on WCEG Talk Radio. I am your host, Kyle Andrew, and I'm here accompanied by Pennye Rogers, the CEO and owner of WCEG Talk Radio. Without her, we are nothing.
Without you guys, we're nothing.
Absolutely. So you brought up a good topic over the break about the woman who was appointed taking Brian Kemp's place because he stepped down from Secretary of State. It's kind of like you and Mr. Oliver were describing it as throwing the black community a bone.
Yes, for us to shut up and stop whining, okay? Mm-hmm. But no, really, Robin Crittenden is Georgia's new Secretary of State that was appointed because Mr. Kemp finally stepped down after he said he won the Georgia's governor's race. But I do believe, though, that when Governor Deal appointed her, I do believe as far as, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want our community to stay woke, okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to stay woke because if we continue to allow people to give us second choice and not give us what we deserve, what we rightfully should have in the beginning, don't throw me a bone later and want me to shut up, okay? Right. And I think that's all it is doing that because even though, as we said earlier, even though there are any laws in place that Mr. Kemp should not have been able to hold his current office as Secretary of State and run for governor at the same time, I think morally he should have stepped down. And morally he should have stepped down, and also he should have, and then if Governor Deal had appointed Ms. Rosalynn at that time, then okay, I can live with that. But why are you standing with Mr. Kemp, giving him the okay to do this, to claim victory, and then gonna throw this bone at us? And some people like, oh well, at least we got somebody in there now. It's kind of late to put that dog in the game.
Yeah,
not calling her a dog, but why are you? I mean, this should have been done when he decided. He just didn't decide just before the election he was going to run. This should have been done months ago.
Yeah.
Back what?
And how long?
February, March. That campaign has been going on for what? 18? I want to say 18. Well, I won't say 18 months, but it's been
a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's long enough for him to have stepped down, and so he's still drawing money. He's making a check. And still, oh God, let me shut up because it's going to open up more doors. But I do, and then people saying she's not qualified. But heck, we have a leader up in Washington that's not qualified to be president. But heck, he's there.
Right.
Okay. So I do think though that I will wish her well. But to bring her in at this late in the game, I do think I think something is wrong with that picture.
Yeah. And like I said during the break, I hope that they don't set her up to fail. And then we compared her to Trump and saying that Trump was not qualified either. But then again, I feel like they're going to police her harder and surveil her much closer than they would Trump.
And holding her to a higher standard too as well. And that's that's what happens to us. And when I say us, I mean people of color, because even just looking when I was growing up and when I was coming up in corporate America in school and in my early days, anytime we were last hired, first fired, we had to be twice as good as our white counterparts. And they were given positions over us. We trained them for the job, and then they end up being our supervisors and managers and over us. And I just think it's something wrong with this picture in America where you will continue to hold blacks back, people of color back, and hold us to a higher standard. And then too, sometimes the reverse can happen even in our own community. We will hold each other to a higher standard than we will for someone else in the fight too as well. So I think it works both ways on both ends. We should be fair to each other and with other people. But I think though that America in general, even other parts of the world, just because of the way that white America has portrayed black people, we still get the short end of the deal, even in other countries, not just here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I want to talk about the caravan for a minute. This is something that I've been paying close attention to in the news. There are migrants on the trail to America. I don't know from which part. I think they're coming from Guatemala.
Yes, Central America, Central America, coming from there, trying to get to the border.
Right. And there are, I don't, you know the exact number of them that there are?
Oh gosh.
Because I know like
count.
5,000 troops have been sent to meet them, and they're not even close yet.
Right, and that's what I can't understand. What's wrong with the country? What's wrong with us?
And essentially, they've been taxed to shoot to kill. That's my knowledge, and it's mostly women and children. So I don't know. This is not going to end well when they get into contact. I had a friend that kind of how do I say this? He kind of related it to when during the civil rights movement, when we were being hosed and bitten by dogs. He says that that's what's about to happen, kind of like Selma, but at the border. And I was like, well, I mean, I hope that's not what goes down. But what do you think?
Well, I do think though that we are being a little too dramatic right now. I'm just looking at the way that the immigration laws or just the immigration issue has been a determining factor for people that are for our administration and as to those that are against the administration. Being that the First Lady, being that her parents, being that his son, they're all immigrants.
Yep.
I mean, I know the last son was born here in the States, correct? The baby boy.
It's in his blood. One drop rule.
Right, but I'm just saying though, but even with this chain immigration where, you know, if your family or somebody is here and you can, that's how her parents were able to become citizens. Mrs. Trump, her parents were able to become citizens because of the chain migration, immigration laws. And so I just feel that we are just overreacting. Like I said, they're not even here yet. Nowhere near here yet.
Won't be here for
And
months.
you are taking troops and putting them at the borders and trying to shut it down long before it happens, or you're still talking about a wall. You're still talking about immigrants like they are aliens or something. And you're treating us like we're immigrants too, if you believe. I mean, we were not slaves. We were enslaved, but we were brought here against our own will. But we're still not having the opportunity to be the citizens that we are because of simple-mindedness and small-mindedness coming from leadership. So you're really causing other people. That's why this society is not getting any better, because if you have leadership that's doing that's happening and doing what they're doing, it's a sad day in our world, in our country.
Yeah, it's definitely his rhetoric and how is his disrespect and how he just talks about other people, which is why there was bombs sent to high Democratic officials. So it starts with him. I think he's the head of the problem.
But just the hate crimes itself has just been on the rise, and not that it ever stopped, and not just because he's in office, but when you have a leader that is trying to turn people against each other, you're calling right-wing, Nazi, whatever the names are that are out here, you're calling, it's good people on both sides. How can you be a good person and you have hatred in your heart, and outwardly hatred? It's not like it's hidden and that's still just as bad. I would rather know that your real true face to be out there than me. You smile on my face, but you still hate me at the same time. So I don't like the hidden racism. Put it out on the table. But in order for them to think that's making America great again, I just think that slogan has just really, it's just really negative.
And his supporters have gotten really blatant with their disrespect and their racism as well. They don't even hide it anymore.
They don't, right. It's just outright.
Yeah.
And just know with the number, and like I say, I think the crime, the hate crime and the racism has always been there. And I don't think it's getting worse. I just think it's just being uncovered. I'm like Russell Simmons on that part. It's just being uncovered right now. And I think I'm glad. And that's why the control with these mobile phones, how we can go live to show when wrongdoing is being done, when wrongdoing is out there. This is stuff that he's trying to stop. He wants to put it out there. And then that, like being a communist or something, when you want to dictate what people can watch and look and say and do and be. And I think that's leading us in the wrong direction. That, and as we were talking earlier, I think that's why we really need to, I'm glad that we only have so many terms that a person can serve, because I don't think I could live with this the rest of my days. I don't know how much long God intends on me going to have me here, but I do not want to live in another. I couldn't go through another 4 years. I can barely make these next 2 years.
Yeah, I will say that I'm very excited to see how the next 2 years in that election plays out. Going back to what you said about hidden racism, growing up, there was a lot of discourse about race, and when we had it, I was under the impression that it was back then and that it was over. But growing up, and I think it started for me with Trayvon. I didn't really understand.
Oh, wow.
People were trying to say, "Oh, that's racist," and I'm like, I didn't understand it, so I ignored it. And it kept happening.
How old were you when Trayvon? How long has that been?
What year was that?
Has it been 3-4 years or something? How long has it been since Trayvon Martin?
Let me look it up real quick. He died in 2012, so I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
Just struggling to understand, but it kept happening with Michael Bland and all of the other names. So then I kind of forced myself to pay attention, and I realized that racism was not gone completely. It was just kind of being hidden and suppressed. But now we have something happened with my mic.
Okay, just keep talking.
Now we have a leader who allows, there it is.
It's okay.
Yeah. Now we have a leader who allows just anybody to do anything and say anything. So I think that goes a long way.
So